Yo, what's up guys, Temple of Chaos on the alt, and as you've seen, I'm G1 on this thing already, which is definitely a bit better than I recorded in this afternoon. I already did this in this afternoon, and then I did a few more runs later in the evening. But in the afternoon, I was getting 3.2 and then 3.8 as highest. But I switched one thing around, which was switching my Team 1 to Team 2, and my Team 2 to Team 1. So I used to have this team as Team 2 and this team as Team 1. I'll talk about all of the units, also replacements, and why things work in just a second. And we're just going to go over all of the teams, and then I'll just zoom into each individual team, what things you can do to improve your dungeons or like your runs in the first place. And then just also do a run because I'm out of entries, but you can still do a test run. So we'll do it by test run. So main thing that I would recommend people, this thing is pretty much free to play except for your third team. Third team is also the hardest if you do not have Daragon, if you do not have Katarina Shizuka combination or any of those kind of things, because your team tends to die. And that was also the issue what I had with the Team 2. Team 2 as Team 1 was very good, but then the Team 1 as Team 2 was dying. I was dying with like 20 turns left or something, whereas Lucas can actually solo this boss, which is kind of particular to this boss. If we're looking for free-to-play changes, Evan is a free-to-play unit technically because he is HOH. Did you miss that HOH and therefore you do not have him? I would say just replace him with a Jean, and then instead of the Jean, you want to go towards any kind of single target damage dealer that is good. Good options for this team would then be a Elise, could be a Kyle, could be all kinds of units that most of the time have a passive in the 3, and then good skill 1 and skill 2. That's the main thing that you're aiming for. Also, if we're switching elements, you can put like Huas in there, you can put like all kinds of things in there. But let's just look at the individual teams, how it's runed and that kind of stuff. Also, in this case, I did actually rune up my Team 1 first, but I was thinking that it was going to be Team 2. I would always recommend you to always rune up your Team 2 first, then your Team 1, and then your Team 3. The reason for that is that you need the best rune quality in your Team 2 to get the highest amount of score in this. As a team or like as a account without Daragon, that is just by far the best thing you can do. So keep that in mind, that I think I can get higher score if I were to rune this one up first and that one second. But let's just look at all of the runes. Also, I have a fair bit of fight runes in there. Do not be discouraged by the fight runes. If you don't have the fight runes, just go for Rage, Blade, Focus, Fatal, whatever sets that make sense. Actually, Focus doesn't make that much sense, but just Fatal, Rage, those are the most common things out there. So what is this team, first of all? We just have a team where we have a attack buffer into a Death Breaker, into a Nuker, into a Death Breaker, into a Nuker. That's just the main thing that you want to be aiming for. In this case, I have you on triple fight. If you cannot do triple fight with a crit damage on the 4, just go for a crit rate on the 4. This set is pretty darn mediocre. One thing to always keep in mind with every one that you rune up, just go for damage on the right element. That's the most important thing there is out there. Plus, what is highly recommended to do is to at least convert the line to something useful on all of your damage dealers. So just try to get like a crit damage 1, crit damage 2 if it's used, crit damage owned, crit damage up, crit damage down, any of those. It doesn't really matter as long as it's something useful rather than like life drain or damage down or something weird, which you don't need. So just gonna go quickly over all of the runes of all of these units. This was the best set that I have. So therefore it also has the highest damage light on there. And then this thing is also a pretty solid set, except for that this artifact is pretty mediocre. Might you ask about the relic? I have a relic that's just there for the base thing because the other stuff doesn't really help at all. And in this case, I also just went for Rage on those two because, or Rage and Fatal, because I simply don't really have any good fight runes that I can use for that as well. So let's just showcase how this team works. It's pretty simple. It's not necessarily getting the highest rank out there. You always want to do a Shaina skill 1, that is pretty important, and you always want to do a Sabrina S2. So your Sabrina has to be max skilled. As you've probably seen it, my Mina is not max skilled, which would do more damage if it's max skilled. My Jean is missing pretty much all skill ups out there, so that would have done a lot more damage if that was the case as well. So that's just one of those things that you do want to keep in mind. And then Silvertail is actually full skill, but he's a potato that just doesn't activate his skill 1 defense break pretty often, and then you just don't deal enough damage on this kind of shenanigans. Also, the thing with the Shaina and the Sabrina is it depends if they land a early defense break or not, because now there's a few hits in already without a defense break, and now comes the defense break, and the Shaina has like 1 hit after, or I think it was the very final hit of a Shaina of a defense break. that is one of those things, like if the Sabrina defense breaks by herself, you tend to do a lot more damage. If there's already a defense break, you can see like good numbers for that. So there's definitely a bit of a difference over there. Of course, team-ups don't really work on this, but it's still the best defense break out there, or one of the best defense break mechanics out there for just having like the twins as a duo in there. Therefore, you can also go for the combination of a artifact on damage on light. Oh, also just not a kill, but damage on light with co-op damage, because just the sum of the highest of those two is the highest that you can do on this. And this is pretty straightforward. There's nothing specific about, oh, you have to use a skill at this turn, at that turn. No, just use whatever, whenever, all the time. There's nothing super specific about it. It's also not really hard to ruin. It's just trying to get as many levels in. The more levels you get in, the more that your teams after can deal more damage. Because the higher level you are, the more score you get for an X amount of damage. That's just simply how it works. It's not that like 50k damage is always worth an X amount of points. No, it's worth an X amount of points based on what level you're at. So the higher level you're at, the more interesting it does get. But that is a little bit nitpicking more for like the super high and try hard runs. If you want to go for like a Daragorn team, you want to start like on the highest level as possible. Whereas with this, it is nice that your team 2 starts on the high level, but it's not something crazy because you don't have a good team 3 in this. Like, honest, my team 3 is absolute ass. I'm super hard carried by that team 2 being good. In this case, let's just send it. Who cares? And that's the main thing out there. And as mentioned, if you don't have that Evan, which I do have as a 4-star in that team 2, I would place the Jean in team 2. And I would replace the Jean here for any kind of single target damage dealer that you can find. That does make a lot of sense. Free-to-play wise, I think Elisa, which is a wind unit. I don't even remember what family she is. Is she the robot? Or like the cyborg thing? I think she's the cyborg thing on wind. Just use that one. I think it's the best damage output out there. If we're switching elements to a different element, then of course versus wind, that one is the best. The Elisa versus versus wind, it is a Hua. Versus water, it's the Elisa. Versus fire, I am not 100% sure. Maybe you just go towards like a Kyle or something. That's also definitely an option out there to just get a lot of damage in. Only issue with Kyle is that he tends to cycle out of his attack buff, but therefore the Silver Tail is kind of nice that Kyle has 2 turns of attack buff for every rotation he has. So in this case, we get to about wave 22 or level 22. This is a higher score than I had the first time, or the try I did this. And the reason that I went for this, which is actually a way better try than the one I had in my previous run, this is way higher. Now we would have to see, I can potentially defense break in this hit. If I land a defense break, it's worth it. Otherwise, okay, it's worth it. So we did about 150k more damage on this. Nice number, I like that one. Than we did on the highest run. The reason for that is that my highest run was a 1-take only, because I was trying my team 1 as team 2 and team 2 as team 1 for pretty much all of my entries until I was like, fuck it, let's just change it up and let's just try it out. And the main reason was that this team was dying as team 2, whereas I felt that team 2 was actually stronger. So the idea is pretty much similar and same. We have a attack buffer, which is in this case triple fight, which is my best triple fight set, into a Death Breaker, into a nuker, into a Death Breaker, which is a really good one. I can highly recommend to max skill a Ubo and start using that. She's crazy good for this. And then as final, you have another nuker. That's just the main thing. As mentioned, if you don't have Evan, just use a Jean in here and then use something else for the Jean. Of course, you want to go damage on light on all of those shenanigans again once as well. Main thing why this team is better as a team 2 is because Lucas, especially against this boss, it kind of depends from boss to boss what kind of debuffs they have. But this boss actually does not kill Lucas. And because he doesn't kill Lucas, you can just go for like 10 more turns where it's just Lucas versus the boss, which is super nice. And it's also kind of fine if Lucas goes for double turns in here because you have a Graswald anyways for attack buff. And rotation is pretty much same as the other one. Always use every skill all the time. Very simple. This team actually does tend to do a lot of damage because you have 2 units for branding. Well, wait, you actually have 3 units for branding because Lucas skill 2 is also a brand unit. It can kind of get messed up on the turn order sometimes, but normally it doesn't really happen that way. It's mainly where Lucas loses the speed buff where it can get messed up for the turn order, but I don't think it is. Is it going to be an issue? Wait, that's the first time that that's an issue. I have not seen that last time. So that is a thing with Lucas. Also, this team was better for taking a random hit, but Lucas missing the speed buff. I think I have to use an S2 right away right now, otherwise we would have that issue. I did not have that issue last time. Maybe we're gonna have that issue continuously. There is a way where you can, yeah, okay, that this team is just super messed up. So you should actually make Crossfault a little bit faster, or just not spam the Lucas S2 into S1. That is the main thing. But just for the idea of it, this team can do a lot of damage. Plus, as I mentioned, Lucas can 1v1 this boss for a very long time. So in this case, it just kind of went wrong. But that was just a bad rotation right there. But a thing that I had prior was that I think my team died around like 9 turns left. But the cool thing about the Lucas is over here, every hit he does, I just get more shield. Or, well, not necessarily more shield, but that's the only skill that actually goes through shield. So that's the only one that actually does mess him up. But he doesn't use that skill all too often. So if he's near towards the end of the rotation, then he only gets a skill of once. If you survive that, you can not necessarily solo it, but you can do a lot of turns with Lucas and still kind of get your way through it, which is kind of a fun thing. And that actually makes Lucas a lot stronger for the second one rather than for the first. I think I'm not going to get this skill off much more often anyway, so might as well just send it for the defense break. Once again, he's still not able to kill me, and we're still doing our shit. So that's one of those things that I was able to get a lot more damage in. But I will showcase a rotation of how it's supposed to work on a team 1, which I pre-recorded already. I can do that. Otherwise, this team, I have to just go back and forth of like trying to record it. But keep in mind, if you don't get the speed buff that you lose on the Lucas, and you just use your S2 when it's actually killing the whole thing, it's totally fine, and you actually get all the way through. Then we have Team 3, which is a really weird team, but hear me out on this one. Normally, I am about level 33 to 35-ish is what I had last time. Main thing is you're trying to survive. There's a lot of units that are very good for that. I don't have a lot of these units. The only one that I have that's good for that is Free Run, because Free Run S2 is actually a very nice shield and immunity. I will showcase you after this run which units are very good for that. But the main thing is I'm trying to survive. I don't have this blacksmith whatever thing hammer girl on light to extend any things. If I had her, I would absolutely use that over the Ikaru. I kind of find it that Ikaru, it does give the team-ups and therefore a lot of multi-hits, and therefore the boss gets a lot of stacks in. I don't know which one it is. I think it's this one. It's not really recommended to give it a lot of stacks, but it kind of works if you don't have any other options. Sure, you could go for a math for like a cooldown extender, but I think that this is still better because in the end you can team up with a attack break, and attack break is actually really nice on this boss. Plus, every time that the boss hits you, Ikaru will try to go for a defense break, which is also kind of nice. So, I will showcase the runes after this. The runes on these are really not that specific, but it's just trying to survive and still get some damage in. So I have 2 single target nukers. This thing also does have an attack buff. In this one, you just, if you don't have the Katarina, if you don't have the Daragorn, if you don't have a lot of things, you kind of have to get creative, and I'll showcase you a few other units for optional stuff in a second as well. So in this case, yes, let's actually use all of the stuff we have. We don't have to go for more immunity, and we provide immunity over here. And this shield is actually that massive that this boss, especially with an attack break, is never gonna hit us. So we do get our defense break from there, from the Ikaru, which is actually one of those nice things. We do have a lot of skills available right now, so I'm gonna hold off on this skill. You prefer to do S2 just to not give it too many stacks, because in S1 is a multi-hit, or at least I have the multi-hit on this thing, which the less stacks it have, technically it is better, but yeah, sometimes you just kind of give it a lot of stacks, like is what it is. In this case, we definitely do want to do that, even though that team-ups don't really work on this, but hey, that's just the way to lower cooldowns a little bit. Plus, the moment that he does get a hit off, then he can get defense break. Also, she has a defense break on the S2. So we still have a shield, we have the attack break once again. So that just gives us an option to simply survive this. Oh, you actually ran out of the shield. Is that enough? That is still enough. This one did not actually do that much damage. We do have the suppression on our ass right now, which is not really that chill. I think I'm still going to send this skill just to try to get like as much damage as possible. That's what I did last time, but this one is kind of a weak-ass team, which is really not that interesting. It's more the team 2 that was actually doing proper and decent. This team was more like, oh, I got us something that kind of makes me survive rather than just die in 2 hits and then kind of make my way to it. And you still get a little bit of damage in, and this was still doing like about 1 mil or something, which if I had a Daragorn on this, I could have done a lot more damage. You definitely do know that part. I think I just throw my heal over there. I still have an attack break on you for now. I could have maybe prolonged the attack break, but I think we're kind of fine. Should be close on getting my cooldowns back. Or maybe not yet. Okay, we don't have an attack break. Shield is still there. That is the one skill that doesn't do any damage sometimes. I'm not sure if he needs higher stacks for it actually to do damage or something. I'm not entirely sure. Did not read that part. But it's weird to see him do an animation and then not deal any damage. But in this case, this team is actually having a pretty good rotation, where team 2 was having a really horrible rotation. In this case, we do have all skills available, but let's just do this so we can also send this. And yeah, by all means, is it one of the better teams out there? No, not really. Do you really need the free run for this? No, not really neither. There's a lot of replacements of a lot of units that are pretty good in this, actually. In this case, I think should I go for self-heal? I think I'll just throw a self-heal. That one also already cleanses things. Okay, that's that unit right there. And now we can survive a little bit longer, but pretty much run is over. And most of the time, this does about like 1 mil-ish. Doesn't really matter at what level we enter. It's just not that crazy of a team. But sometimes you just got to work with what you have. And that's one of those main things that I'm trying to do over here. Team 1, Team 2, I would say very solid. Team 3, definitely not solid. And this was the highest score that I got out there. Lucas and Evan are the main damage dealers. But actually, Crosswell is pretty much a damage dealer as well. And this thing is 555. So just making that thing on rage actually does give a lot of value as well. Also, Crosswell does take more turns because he gets attack bar from his S2. So for that reason, he's just bound to deal more damage in the first place. In this one, it's definitely, I expected the Sean to do more, but I don't have scallops on the Sean, so that's definitely a difference over there. But Team 1, Team 2, definitely satisfied. For Team 3, not as much. Also, I did not go through this the runes just yet. It's just nuker set, triple fight, triple fight, triple fight. Really not that special on that one. I think to keep in mind, if you have certain units for Team 3 that are very good, I would say that a Aragorn is really good for your Team 3 because it has cooldown decrease, it has the immunity, and it has the shield. So you can use this as a cooldown unit. You also have the team up on the S2 to lower the cooldown on your highest attack unit and give it attack buff. So this is a very good unit. If I had this unit, I would replace him with the Ikaru would be replaced for this unit. As mentioned before, for the people that do have this blacksmith hammer girl, definitely do use her. I think she's HOH as well. She's definitely best in slot for a team 3. Doesn't matter what you do. If you do have a Katarina, I did not even fuse a Katarina yet. I'm also not really planning to fuse a Katarina just because I absolutely hate fusing and I'm not really feeling like that. But Katarina is good to use, but then you're gonna need something along the lines of your Shizuka to spread invisibility if you have a single target invisibility. Or you would have to throw it with a bunch of units that are potential out there. One of the easier ones is a Ikasha, but I don't have Ikasha neither. So that is also one of those things. I don't really have a good provider for an invisibility. Even if I made a Katarina team, sure, you could just go for like a Cubesna for something that's the most free-to-play option out there. I think, pretty sure he still does give the invisibility and crit buff and attack buff. Yep. But then it's also, you have to lower the cooldowns, and I don't really have the proper cooldowns lowering that can also provide enough stability for a Katarina to survive. So those are kind of the things that you have to keep in mind. And that's just the way to do it. You can also, if you're using the Ikaru as I did, since the Ikaru will give you a good defense break, you can also just simply go for a few of the fire nukers, such as a Brandia with a skill 3 that does do a shit ton of damage, or even a Bilger skill 3 if you just work with a lot of buffs. I would say the only one that's absolutely a must is your Homunculus Dark on the skill tree that is looking like this. Wait, you don't see the skill tree over here. Let's just go for the skill tree looking up over here. Pretty sure it does show over here. Skill evolution and this. The multi-hit, preferably not, but it's better everywhere else. And you want to have unbalanced field max skills. If you feel that's a waste of your Devimons, this is also the best thing for your TOA. And with TOA, you just get more crystals. And therefore, you might consider doing some more TOA hell stages that you normally don't do, just to get like a bunch of extra crystals in rather than just your scrolls, which that's always nice to do. And it's very easy. It's one of the better units. I haven't used it myself yet, but I would probably replace... Looking at these, I would replace this unit and then just keep the rest, and it does an ungodly, like, unbalanced field. The skill does exactly what it is called. It's unbalanced as fuck, because you get 2-turn cooldown decreases enemy, 2-turn cooldown increases on your side, speed on your side, and slow on the enemy side. That's just broken. Good thing it's only for PV, because otherwise that would be stupidly broken. And then the main thing is you need that good rotation on the team 2 where the Lucas doesn't go for an over rotation, but I'll showcase a run where I use this team in a team 1 and then just kind of showcase like how that works. I don't have a showcase of the highest run because I actually did this while I was on my phone, while I was walking around. So I don't have the recorded version of this, but just to have a showcase of like, hey, how does that team look like if it doesn't go off cycle where things just go bad. That's just the main thing it is. And that's mainly because of your S2 into an S1 would remove your speed buff, and therefore we had you cutting you before moving, and then we had double defense break move one after another. And that's the thing you always want to have is your defense breaker into nuker, into defense breaker, into another nuker. That's just the main thing there is for all of it. And that's about it. And yeah, that's top 4%, even close to top 3% potentially. I don't know. I was top 6% with a 3.8 mil score. I did a 1.1 mil higher and I jumped up 2%. But yeah, this is pretty close already to the 3% mark, which is even Guardian 2. I don't expect to get Guardian 3 on this account ever unless I pull the Daragorn. If I were to get a Daragorn, I use Team 1 and Team 2 and then a Daragorn team in Team 3. I'm immediately G3. And that is the fun thing. I will be G3 on an account that is, how old are we right now? We are 114 days in, which 114 days, we're pretty much checking off a lot of Guardians already. We got Siege, we got World Guild Battle, we got Arena. World Arena is definitely the hardest out there for sure. And Temple of Chaos, I'm very sure that we would be getting this G1 as well. So we covered pretty much all of the G1s outside of Special League, or well, outside of RTAs, the 2 RTAs, within 114 days, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, If you don't have the Daragorn, use a team like this. I would still say if you do have a Daragorn, maybe still be looking at your team 1 and team 2 to put them like this, because I did those with low rune quality, as I mentioned, because in the end, rune quality of this, like these triple fight runes like this, is pretty mediocre sets, nothing too special, nothing too crazy. You can definitely farm those up. But yeah, that's all you needed apparently. And then even if you add the Daragorn set to this, you can use Daragorn set, which is just full vampire, which also doesn't really use anything else that you would use in any of those two. So funny enough, on my main account, my team 2 actually did less damage than this, because I was just going for a lazy team 2, which is actually kind of funny as well. So yep, that's about it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. I will be trying to get maybe G2, G3-ish on a next rotation, but I think it's a little bit like G3 is Daragorn carried. G2, I think is doable. If I get a little bit of upgrades on more damage on the right element with artifacts and maybe 1 or 2 more good units, such as a Aragorn on water, then I could definitely make a better version of this to just make it work. So guys, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you as always in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.